Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear friends. The year was 1983, and I was scared. I was in Ottawa as part of a university program, and we were meeting with various levels of political leaders. Our coordinator had just announced that tomorrow we would be meeting with a group of senators, and I, Pat Johnson, would be called upon to introduce the senators to our group. He reached over and filled my arms with copious notes containing the bios of those various senators. My heart stopped for a second, and then my real nightmare began. My mind flew into a frenzy, wondering how had I fallen on such misfortune? And the internal dialogue went something like this. Why did he pick me to do this horrendous job? I have no experience introducing anyone. How would you introduce a senator anyway? What do we call them? Sir, Your Honor? And their bios are way too long to read. I wonder if I'm allowed to edit them. And what's the proper protocol? And do I stand up, or can I sit down when I introduce them? Do I have to go to the front of the room, or can I stay in the back where I'm sitting? Oh, who told him to pick me? I was filled with fear, and I felt paralyzed. Somehow that event came and went, and I was still breathing. I had survived that ordeal, although I suspect it was not a stellar performance. Later, one of my colleagues took me aside and gently suggested that I might want to investigate a program called Toastmasters. My fears began pushing me to do something, so I found a Toastmaster club and I joined. I clearly remember that very first Toastmaster meeting. It was by far the most difficult meeting I had ever attended in my life. I vividly remember how difficult it was just to pull the door open and walk into that room for the first time, not knowing if I would meet the criteria, not knowing if I would fit in, not knowing if I would be accepted, not knowing how to join or how to leave quickly without being noticed. Would I fit in? And what was a typical Toastmaster anyway? Well, it turns out that I created in my own mind what I thought the typical Toastmaster would be like, and I was the only reference point that I used for my definition. They would be shy, lacking in confidence and self-esteem, a very nervous speaker with difficulty putting thoughts together in a cohesive manner, someone who felt they had something to say but had difficulty expressing opinions. Now, that was my perception, but my experiences in Toastmasters continue to challenge my initial idea of what a Toastmaster was all about. In fact, I currently believe that there is no such thing as one typical Toastmaster model. People come to the Toastmaster program for a myriad of reasons, with varying degrees of expertise and polish, as we heard on the stage previously this evening, and they come looking for a wide range of needs to be met. This has become very obvious to me as I watch the fantastic members of one of my clubs walk through the door on Thursday morning. First of all, young May. She is academically accomplished. She currently holds 2 master's degrees, writes and reads impeccable English, as well as several other languages. But young May's challenge is to speak well extemporaneously. young May is a typical member of many Toastmaster clubs. Now, Carolyn is a different story. Carolyn is a professional in the field of public relations and broadcasting. She was relentlessly pursued by her friend Peter in coming to Toastmasters. And Peter used to say, "Please, Carolyn, come to Toastmasters." And she'd say, "Peter, there is no way I am getting up out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to another meeting." So Peter, being resourceful, one morning called Carolyn up, and when she answered the phone, "Hello," Peter said, "Are you awake?" "Well, yes, I'm awake. You just woke me up." "Good. Since you're awake, I may as well come by and pick you up for the Toastmaster meeting. See you in half an hour." Carolyn went that morning, but to her amazement, she found that she absolutely loved the camaraderie and the fun that was had at that Toastmaster meeting. She joined because of the fun, but what she discovered soon after she started delivering speeches, her evaluators shared with her that at the end of her sentences, Carolyn, the professional broadcaster, smacked her lips. Horror of horrors. She went home, reviewed some tapes, and indeed she did smack her lips professionally. And these diverse people come to Toastmasters for very diverse reasons. Some come to stop playing spider push-ups on a mirror with their fingers. Remember this one in your club? Some come to be more proficient at impromptu speaking. Some want to become self-confident or more powerful leaders in their community. Some want to quit clutching the lectern, and some want to get rid of those clumsy notes that they use and flip around while they're up here. Some want to gain in self-esteem, while others want to stop fidgeting with their clothes and their hair and overcome those other nervous tics that they may have acquired. Some want to become better speakers, more careful listeners, or more critical thinkers. Some come to develop those all-important leadership skills. Oh yes, and some come to stop smacking their lips. The typical Toastmaster that I speak of, well, I believe that we're all typical in that we reach out to be part of a supportive, positive group where we are able to experiment and develop our skills in the realm of communication and leadership. It has been said that fear pushes you forward, but that vision pulls you forward. I hope it is a vision of who and what you can become that pulls you through the Toastmaster program. If you are currently a member of Toastmasters, reflect back. What was the vision that pulled you to the program in the first place? Does it still pull you? Recommit yourself to that vision and keep progressing. There is so much to learn. And for those of you in the audience who are currently flirting with the idea of joining us, ask yourself what you might have to gain, or just as importantly, what you might bring to that club that would be so very welcomed and valued. Find your vision and let your vision pull you forward. Walk into that first meeting. Sign up to improve your confidence, your self-esteem, your listening, thinking, speaking, your leadership skills. The year is now 2010. And guess what? I'm still scared. But I'm also able to chuckle when I think back of my first attempt to introduce those senators in Ottawa. And I am so very grateful to that one typical Toastmaster who cared to take the time to introduce me to the Toastmaster program. Mr. Chair.